Well, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're watching this and what part of the world you may be in. Joshua here, and I decided to take my friend Telman up on his 99-day challenge to uh, get on and do a Facebook Live for at least 3 minutes and share some thoughts, ideas that have been beneficial to me, as well as help me work out some ideas. So this is kind of going to be a diary to myself, as well as sharing some thoughts that, particularly at this point in time when everybody's anxious and dealing with the uncertainty of what's coming next and what that's going to look like, and how is that changing what is right now, and what do I how do I have to adapt to live in these kind of circumstances, and not only live but still continue to persevere and perhaps even thrive in it, to quote a cliche. But today I want to talk about, real briefly, an opportunity or a way out of chaos and overwhelm and confusion and anxiety. At least it's worked for me and several other people, or, well, I should say thousands of other people that I've shared this with over the years. And it's something that I do every single week on a regular basis, and it makes all the difference in the world in terms of staying on course and removing that chaos and that overwhelm and that the confusion, the particularly in this day and age in the online world where there's all sorts of things competing for our attention and our energy. How do you narrow down? How do you focus in on it? And so I use something that I call the WMN compass to help me stay on course and help me make sense of all this craziness when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel this. And I take an inventory using the WMN compass every week. And I write it out. I'm old school longhand, and I write it on I use my iPad, but I write it all out at least once a week so that I can take an inventory of where I am, and in conjunction with where it is that I'm going and where it is that I want to go. So let me just start here before I explain how it works and what to do, because that's fairly simple. The first thing that I think is important to understand is that to start with, where is it that you want to be, do, or have? Start by asking yourself that question. Where is it that you want to be, do, or have? So if you're currently in a situation and it's not exactly where you want it to be, whatever that might be, and up here represents where you'd like to be, the goal that you'd like to achieve. So where is it that you'd like to be, do, or have? Then ask yourself this question: has this goal, has this choice, this vision that I have for myself, has it been limited in any way by circumstances, by conditions, by a situation? So, I mean, this is a prime time to ask yourself this question: am I choosing this goal because of a limitation, or am I choosing it out of a vision for what I want to have happen, what I deem is something that I'd like to see happen in the world, that I'd like to achieve, an outcome that is beneficial to me? And so it's really important to pay attention to that, because oftentimes we choose things out of constraints, out of settling for what we think is possible given the circumstances, given the conditions. So in light of that, when we're dealing with like the corona hysteria and all of the stuff that's real and that we've got to be concerned with and that we've got to pay attention to, but are we choosing to limit what we want to have happen, what we're looking forward to in the future, what we're striving for? Are we choosing to limit that based on the circumstances, based on what is right now? Then the next thing is it's an opportunity or an invitation, if you will, to remind yourself that you have the choice. You have the opportunity to choose from vision. You could so well in this moment decide, in this moment, because it's a moment-to-moment decision, to choose from your vision for what you want to have happen, for where you'd like to go. And it's just a pleasant reminder. And then we can tap into the WMN compass, because everything is in relationship when you use the compass. And what the WMN stands for is just 3 simple questions. What's working, the W, what's missing, and then what's next. And that's a compass to keep you on track. But on track to what? So are you focused in on where it is that you'd like to go, and truly a worthy goal that is according to your vision, or has it been limited in some way? Because when you're answering these 3 questions, what you want to do is you want to look at it in light of where you are right now, and then where it is that you say you want to go. Not that I say you should go, not that somebody else says that you should go, and not that a circumstance or a situation or a condition says that you should go. Where you have consciously decided that you want to go because it's something that is inspiring and inspirational to you, that's worthy in your eyes. It doesn't have to fit anybody else's ideal or anybody else's definition of what it should look like, right? So the only 2 things that matter when you're asking yourself these questions and when you're taking this inventory is, where are you now, and where in relationship to where it is that you'd like to go. And so what these 3 questions allow you to do is say, am I moving closer? Is my behavior, is my actions, are the things that I'm doing, the mindset, the things that I'm tuning into, is it bringing me closer to where I'd like to be, do, or have? Or is it taking me further away from it? And so this gets into a misnomer or a fantasy that I think, well, I know I've had, and I think, we're all subject to it to a degree, which is success should be a straight line. It should be a straight line to go from where I am right now to where it is that I'd say I want to be. And the only way that success is a straight line is if you've been there before. I'll say that again. The only way that success is a straight line is if you've been there before. Meaning you're not really going for something that's beyond what you think. You're not risking it not working, right? You're not going for something. And so what you're doing is you're reliving your past experiences, your past outcomes. And otherwise, if you want to shift away from what you're getting right now, the results that you're seeing in your life right now, then you need to do something, be something, experience something different in order to get there. And so it can't be a straight line under those circumstances, because you don't know how to get there yet. You've never been there before, right? I mean, it's just common sense. So when you're thinking about this, think about it in relationship to where it is that you want to go. Because what I see happening, and I'm going to attempt to draw this out now, and hopefully you'll be able to see it, but I'm using a big red marker so that you can. If we're down here and where it is that we'd like to go is up here, and that's our destination or the goal that we want to achieve, what we end up doing, a lot of us, is we end up doing this. We move up and we create all this chaos here, and we're working really hard. We're working really hard, but we're staying in the same general area. We're not moving ourselves any closer to where it is that we'd like to be, that we haven't been before. Because let's face it, for a lot of us, this is comfortable. This is familiar. This is where this tends to be our set point. The question is, can we tic-tac our way to get here? And the answer is yes. Now, it's not a straight line, notice. You're always off course, and sometimes you'll make a move or try an action that brings you way off here, and it's parallel. But if you will use the WMN compass and ask yourself what's working, what's missing, and what's next, you get to choose a different outcome, and you get to then take an inventory at a different point in time to see what happened based on those three questions. And so it's a way to keep us going and keep us on track. And it's a way to remind us of the fact that it never is a straight line. So when you take this inventory, what you're asking yourself is, in relationship to where I want to be, and it's beyond where I've ever been before, is what's working, what's missing, and what's next in relationship to where I am right now and where it is that I want to go. Now, the important thing here is to take an inventory and to look at it objectively, meaning take the emotion out of it. And the way to do that is, did it move me closer? Did this ideas, this actions, these behaviors, even the feelings, the emotion, am I closer? Am I feeling empowered, or am I feeling less empowered? Am I feeling more negative and desperate? Because let's face it, negativity is a real thing. And it's not something to beat yourself up over or to deny exists. It's something to acknowledge, to let be there so that you can let it go. Truly not relive it, but release it, to get over it, or to let it be there and observe it. And if you pretend that you're Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory and you've got your white lab coat on, right, and you're monitoring your results, and it's just, you want to look at, is it bringing me closer to where I want to be? Did that zigzag, did that tic-tac bring me a little bit closer or a little bit further away from where I want to be? And it's not emotional. There's no judgment on your part or anybody else's part. It's just two simple questions: closer or further away from the vision and the outcome. And sometimes, frankly, you start to see along the way that you want to change your vision, you want to change your outcome because it evolves, your thinking evolves, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up on it and say that you have to stay with it. But now also be honest with yourself and say, are you selling out on yourself? That's why the question of where are you choosing from is important also. Like, am I still operating from vision, or am I choosing out of the circumstances, out of the conditions, out of this particular situation? Am I letting that limit me in terms of what I believe is possible or what I want to go for? And as long as you're still talking in terms of a vision that you have for yourself and where you'd like to be, you're in good shape. And so before we wrap up, I just want to talk about the three questions a little bit, and a few guidelines that I follow that I found extremely valuable, and I invite you to try them on and see if it works for you as well. It's, first of all, always start with what's working. And for a lot of us, especially if you're used to getting hung up on the roadblocks and the frustration of not being where you want to be, of being trapped here in all of this chaos, right? And all of this craziness. What ends up happening is we lose our track of our thoughts and what it is that we wanted to say. So, I know what it was. What's working is really important because there's always elements of positive things that are working, especially even here in this chaos. There's a lot of stuff, if you will look for it in this, even though you're frustrated, and even though you're not where you want to be, and even though the results that you seem to be achieving while everybody else seems to be living the life and living their best dream life of their, and you're the only one that seems to not be there, right? There's still a lot of positive things, a lot of things that are working if you look for them. And if you will just objectively observe them. And it's really important. I try to make 2 pages worth of every week of what's working. Because I want to acknowledge what's working, and I want to reinforce that because it makes me feel empowered when I see what's working. And B, I want to remember to continue to do the things that are working, because when I get caught here and when I stay stuck here in this drama and this rigmarole, what ends up happening is that I forget and stop doing some of the things that aren't working, because the tendency, at least for me and what I've observed in others, is that when you're not where you want to be and you're stuck in the frustration, you say, everything's not working. The entire thing is broken. It's blah, screw it. This doesn't work. Well, no, there are going to be elements of everything that are working, if for nothing less than to acknowledge yourself for the fact that you got up off the mat again and tried again, in spite of being depressed, in spite of feeling beat down, that you decided to do it again, and that's working. The fact that you've got resilience is working. The fact that you're tuning into positive things, that's working. The fact that you're not allowing the negativity to overwhelm you, that's working. The fact that you're willing to attempt new things, that's working. The fact that you are still inspired in spite of the overwhelm is working. Whatever it is, when you start looking at it, you'll start to see elements beyond that are working, because the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. You'll start to see new things and you'll make new connections that you didn't see before. And you can say, well, that course that really sucked, that didn't bring me all the results that I had hoped for when I first started, when I was first amped up and excited about it, and all of it sucked and they scammed me and all of that stuff, right? We all get there from time to time, but maybe there was one idea that served you, that you could tune into. And because you're tuning into that, you can take that and have that serve you. Then I move on to what's missing. Now, I don't ask myself what's broken, what's not working. I ask myself what's missing, because it automatically designs myself to tic-tac back. If I look in terms of what's missing, what that means is that I am presupposing that there's a possible answer out there that I haven't seen, that I haven't tried, that I've been blind to or unconsciously unaware of before, right? So when I tune into the what's missing part, now I tune into it from a place that moves me forward, that allows me to tic-tac and take notice of whether that's moving me forward or not. So what's missing is really important from that regards. Now, the other thing that I do is I usually don't make more than a list of 4 or 5 items that are missing. I used to try to come up with a whole list of things, and that's a disservice, because I can't in a week fix all the stuff that's missing, right? So right now, based upon where I am in this moment, and right now, based upon where it is that I say I want to go, what's missing? Just in this moment, in this snapshot of time, in what's going on, not in the grand scheme of things, just what's a bite-sized thing that I can tackle. Make sense? So, and then that naturally moves to clarity, because it leads you to what's next. And I would recommend that you never choose more than 3 items of what's next, because otherwise then you get even more overwhelm and depression settles in, because you're not where you want to be, right? Oh my God, I'm not there yet. And what's next? That now you've listed out. I used to list out, hundreds of to-dos of what's next. And, because I was a type A personality, go get them, beat them up and take no prisoners, blah, 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 accept no failure and all that, which is fine in terms of resilience, and it's fine in terms of success at all costs. And you can build a success, but you also burn yourself out real fast, right? So what ends up happening is I choose now what's next in light of where I am right now and where I want to go, but not what's next to get me all the way to the finish line, because I can't do that in one fell swoop, because that would be a straight line, wouldn't it? So what's the next tic-tac? What's the next increment? And which leads me to the last point, which is I recommend that you don't do this more than once or twice a week maximum. I used to try to do this every day, and it's too short a time in between to see what's working, what's missing, what's next, and then take a viable inventory. So now I do it once a week, and I look at what's missing, and I choose the maximum of 3 items for what's next for the coming week in light of where I am, what's working where I am, and what's missing where I am, so that I can just bite off a small little chunk of that elephant, right? And I can swallow it, I can digest it, I'm not overwhelmed, and it's workable. I think that's more than enough. Wow, I went way more than the 3 minutes. I'm now 20 minutes or closing in on 20 minutes. So I think I'll wrap it up here today. And if you've got questions or thoughts or comments, go ahead and add them, and we can address them tomorrow in the next one as I go for day 2. Thanks for listening, everybody.